Welcome to Unit 2 of Forensic Psychology, where we delve into the theories of criminal behavior, exploring biological, psychological, social, and integrated approaches. By the end of this unit, you'll be equipped to describe major biological theories, explain psychological theories, analyze social theories, evaluate integrated models, and apply these frameworks to real-world cases. Biological theories suggest that genetics, neurobiology, and hormones contribute to antisocial behavior, highlighting the physiological roots of criminality. While biological theories were once dismissed due to associations with eugenics, modern biosocial criminology acknowledges the interplay between biology and environment. Key fields of study in biological theories include behavioral neuroscience, endocrinology, evolutionary psychology, and behavioral genetics. Genetic influences are explored through twin and adoption studies, revealing that identical twins show higher genetic concordance, suggesting a genetic component to behavior. Research indicates that while genetics can predispose individuals to criminal behavior, they do not determine it entirely, emphasizing the role of environment. Gene-environment interactions show that genetic vulnerabilities may manifest under certain conditions, but supportive environments can mitigate these risks. Neurobiological factors, such as brain structures and neurotransmitters, play a crucial role in impulse control, decision-making, and emotional processing. Neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine are linked to aggression, impulsivity, and risk-taking, highlighting their role in criminal behavior. Advancements in neuroimaging, such as FMRI and PET scans, provide insights into the brain function and structure of offenders. Key neurobiological findings link specific brain regions and neurotransmitters to criminal behavior, offering a deeper understanding of these associations. Hormonal influences, particularly testosterone and cortisol, are associated with aggression and stress responses, contributing to gender differences in crime. Cortisol, a stress hormone, is linked to risk-taking and criminal behavior, with high levels associated with chronic stress and its consequences. Evolutionary perspectives suggest that behaviors now considered criminal may have been adaptive in ancestral environments, aiding survival and reproduction. While evolutionary perspectives provide insights into the origins of behavior, they do not excuse criminality, emphasizing the need to understand ultimate causes. The biosocial model illustrates the interaction between biological and environmental factors, highlighting the complexity of criminal behavior. Psychological theories encompass psychodynamic, behavioral, and cognitive approaches, applying 5 theoretical traditions to understand crime. These theories focus on individual-level factors such as personality, cognitive processes, learning, and emotional development. Psychodynamic theories, including Freud's model, suggest that criminal behavior may result from dominant ID or weak superego, affecting moral standards. John Bowlby's maternal deprivation theory suggests that prolonged separation from a mother during the first 5 years can lead to affectionless psychopathy and even crime. The 44 Thieves study found that 14 out of 44 thieves were affectionless, with 12 experiencing early separation. However, critics argue that the study overstated its findings, ignored hereditary factors, and was correlational rather than causal. Eysenck's personality theory identifies 3 major traits: extroversion, neuroticism, and psychoticism. These traits influence sociability, emotional stability, and empathy. Eysenck predicted that criminals score higher on extroversion, neuroticism, and psychoticism. Inherited nervous system features may influence criminality, with impulsiveness being a key factor. Behavioral theories emphasize learning through conditioning. Classical conditioning, as demonstrated by Pavlov, shows how criminal behavior can become associated with positive outcomes. Operant conditioning, introduced by Skinner, involves learning through reinforcement and punishment. Criminal behavior is often reinforced, while prosocial behavior is not, making it resistant to extinction. Radical behaviorism posits that all behavior is shaped by environmental contingencies. Crime is seen as a result of environmental shaping, rather than choice or pathology. Cognitive theories explore moral reasoning and cognitive distortions. Kohlberg's stages of moral development suggest offenders often function at lower levels of moral reasoning. Hostile attribution bias involves interpreting ambiguous social cues as hostile, leading to reactive aggression. This bias often develops from early victimization or exposure to violence. Cognitive behavioral approaches integrate cognitive and behavioral principles widely used in correctional settings to reduce recidivism, as noted by researchers like Kohlberg and Beck. A comparison of psychological theories of crime highlights different approaches, from psychodynamic to social learning, each with unique implications for understanding criminal behavior. Social theories focus on learning through social interactions. Social process theory emphasizes that crime is learned and influenced through everyday socialization. Three main branches in criminal behavior acquisition include social learning, control, and labeling, each explaining different aspects of how crime is learned and perceived. Bandura's social learning theory highlights learning through observation and modeling, as demonstrated in the Bobo doll experiments where children imitated aggressive models. Aker's social learning theory outlines four core elements: differential association, definitions, differential reinforcement, and imitation, explaining how deviance occurs. Differential association theory by Edwin Sutherland explains that criminal behavior is learned through communication within intimate personal groups, emphasizing the role of social interactions. The theory suggests that motives are learned from definitions favorable or unfavorable to law, with differential associations varying in frequency, duration, priority, and intensity. Labeling theory explores how societal reaction and identity formation influence deviance, distinguishing between primary and secondary deviance. Key theorists like Tannenbaum, Becker, and Lemmet discuss concepts like tagging and stigmatization, which can push offenders deeper into crime. Policy implications of labeling theory suggest avoiding stigmatizing labels, using restorative justice, and recognizing that social control may paradoxically increase crime. Let's explore the comparison of social theories of crime, focusing on social learning, differential association, and labeling. Each theory offers unique insights into crime causation and policy implications. Integrated models are essential because criminal behavior is complex and cannot be explained by a single theory. They combine insights from multiple perspectives, recognizing the interaction of biological, psychological, and social factors. Two key integrated models are the biopsychosocial model and the general theory of crime, focusing on low self-control. The biopsychosocial model provides a comprehensive framework with three interacting domains: biological, psychological, and social factors. Anthony Walsh highlights biosocial criminology as a powerful paradigm, emphasizing the interplay of nature and nurture, and the need for inquiry into various biological and social factors. The implications of the biopsychosocial model include using biopsychosocial assessments for crime prevention and offering more individualized treatment for offenders. The biopsychosocial model of criminal behavior illustrates the interaction between biological, psychological, and social factors in shaping criminal behavior. The general theory of crime, by Gottfredson and Hirschi, focuses on low self-control as a core concept, explaining criminality through the absence of self-control. Low self-control originates from failures in supervision and discipline during early childhood, emphasizing the role of family in shaping behavior. A key insight is that lower levels of self-control lead to higher levels of crime and social failure. Characteristics of low self-control include impulsivity, risk-seeking, and low frustration tolerance, leading to various associated behaviors. Moffat's dual taxonomy presents two distinct types of offenders, each with unique natural histories and causes. Life-course persistent offenders are characterized by early onset, continuity, and stability in antisocial behavior across life stages. The etiology of life course persistent offenders includes neuropsychological disruptions and genetic vulnerabilities, leading to continued offending and various life challenges. Adolescent limited offenders typically begin offending in adolescence, with behavior decreasing in early adulthood, influenced by peer dynamics. The etiology of adolescent limited offenders involves the maturity gap and peer influence, leading to antisocial behavior as a form of autonomy assertion. Outcomes for adolescent limited offenders include desistance in early adulthood and successful transitions to adult roles, though some may face consequences of delinquency. Moffat's dual taxonomy graphically illustrates the trajectories of life course persistent and adolescent limited offenders over the life course. A comparison of life course persistent and adolescent limited offenders highlights differences in prevalence, onset, continuity, and intervention strategies. Let's explore the key takeaways from theories of criminal behavior, starting with biological theories. These theories delve into genetics, neurobiology, and hormones, highlighting the role of the prefrontal cortex, amygdala, serotonin, testosterone, and cortisol. Biosocial criminology emphasizes the interaction between genes and the environment. Next, we examine psychological theories, which include psychodynamic, behavioral, and cognitive approaches. These theories explore the influence of conditioning, moral reasoning, and biases on behavior. Social theories provide another perspective, focusing on social learning, differential association, and labeling. Integrated models like the biopsychosocial approach and the general theory of crime offer a comprehensive view, emphasizing low self-control as a central element. Developmental pathways offer insights into criminal behavior, distinguishing between life course persistent and adolescent limited pathways. The key insight is that criminal behavior is multiply determined, with no single theory fully explaining it. Thank you for your attention and engagement throughout this presentation. We hope these insights into criminal behavior theories have been enlightening.